Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here. In kind of an agitated place. Yes, I'm irritable. Um, I'd almost say stressed, but it's all internal stress. So we call that something else like anxiety or whatever. But yes, I'm not comfortable. What else is news? More uncomfortable than usual. Okay, maybe that's a better way to say it. But whatever. We'll endeavor to persevere. That is, we'll just keep letting the clock tick, and I'll have to endure the minutes as they unfold, whether I like it or not. So that's all you can do, pretty much. So yeah, not much to say. I've sort of said it all, as some people have pointed out, and so now it's just the summing up part and trying to somehow form it, keep reshaping it so it's rounder or something. It's too sloppy, as it's all the pieces are there, but there's extra bits sticking out, and it's not said in the perfect words that will fit in any brain and be understood, because we don't have enough common vocabulary. The word horror to some people is funny. Yeah, to other people, it might mean something. It's like the reactions people have, spiders and snakes, oh my thing. So we're all kind of different in how we model, what we use to model. So that's sort of the subject. That is the subject, really. It's just that, no, we're just robots. We're just reactive. And the only thing we have that's different than the other critters on the planet is this thing we call intelligence, but really it's just some notions of how things function. So they're bits of modeling clay. And some people's clay is made out of shit, and some people's clay is made out of facts. And you put those pieces together, and you make a you make an image you make a mechanism inside your brain that follows rules and functions, attempts to, as a duplicate of reality. And so I caught myself the other day saying, somebody asked if, well, you could blah, 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 something in the future. And I said, I don't see that happening. And when I said those words, I don't see that happening, I said, yeah, that's sort of exactly how it works. I have a model of reality, what I think is important, and my brain sees stuff in the model and can project the future based on what I see as how things work, how things are, where they're heading, and how they are constructed, and what they're capable of doing. And so it's like predicting. You can have a piece of thread, you can predict how much pressure you can put on it before it breaks, that kind of thing. So we sort of understand how much weight the thing can hold, how many straws you can put on certain camels' backs before they don't, they say no mas, can't do it, and they sit down. So that's what our models do. And some people's models, you could argue, are completely, garbage. They can't predict anything correctly. And other people, you could argue, yeah, they're getting it right. Their model is a good model. It understands the dynamic and what's happening, and how we're being manipulated, or how we're being influenced, and predict how we're going to behave. Now, I'm making a prediction by making these videos that somehow people are capable of being communicated with, that they don't have to actually fall into quicksand to understand that being in quicksand is a bad thing, that they can understand things without having to actually experience them, the specific circumstance anyway. They can have a general understanding of bad or you know, something that wouldn't be worth it, something they wouldn't want if that was part of their life. They wouldn't live their life, and understand that it wouldn't be really fair to obligate somebody else to endure something they wouldn't endure, as part of the game they're playing. So if they're going to go to Las Vegas, it's this simple argument I've made before. If going to have your fun means that you have to tie some people up and put them in the trunk and they nearly suffocate and it's horrible and an awful experience and they get raped in the trunk, and you know, your fun is the, you know, it always requires that you shove somebody. That's part of the price paid. It's just the way the rules work. And the game of life is like that. To have what you think is your rewarding experience as having your fun little life, the fact is there'll be victims, and by a certain percentage of people, humans, and this also applies to the animals, that will pay a very high price for your little joy ride of saying, I'm a human and I'm accomplishing something and I'm in the universe and I'm the universe thinking. Well, no, you're not really the universe doing much. You're the universe just making models of itself, you know, and pretending that it's doing something important, and deluding itself into thinking it's doing something, you know, worthwhile. And that's really all this is. You know, we're just deluded, addictive, you know, machines. And you can go into all the biological origins for the motivating mechanisms, the reward and pleasure, you know, the reward and punishment stuff that keeps us motivated and moving. You know, but I really shouldn't have to go into all that crap some more, because I've already done it. Yeah, I mean, it's something people should be able to glean just by going to, you know, high school. You know, okay, you know, some of those facts are just right there in your face, where we came from, and why the dumb animals keep playing, because they can't do anything other than that, because they can't run models like we can. They can't understand how they're being manipulated and how the system, you know, that they're just a part of a Borg, of a niche species, doing a biological experiment, you know, where most of the organisms will be molested and killed as children. And you know, so obviously if you could make them the argument, well, most of your children will die horribly and blah blah, you know, they would say, no, okay, I don't want to do that. Just as most reasonable people would say, to go to Las Vegas or to have Disneyland, they wouldn't want to impose horrible experiences on somebody else. They wouldn't want that to be, if that had to be the price for their fun, most of them would say, okay, no, I'd rather not go. I'd say most. See, that might be a false prediction. People might be more insanely selfish than I think. But I think most people, if that was the facts, would be able to understand, okay, all right, we just can't do Disneyland because it, you know, it's just not worth tying the people up and the rape and all that. So fuck it. And that's just the same argument we're just making here, is that that's the nature of life. And so if you're going to defend life and you're going to defend procreation and keep imposing this mess into the future, then you're basically, that's what you're defending. You're pulling the straws and you're shoving it, you know, you're pulling the cancer out of the it doesn't exist bucket and you're shoving it in somebody. I mean, you're doing Dr. Mengele bullshit. You think you're accomplishing something and you're really not. You're just going to torture people, and that's all that's going to be. That's all you're going to get in the end. Yeah, it's not meritorious. It's not a justified. It didn't pass. You know, words again. You know, finding them. environmental, what the hell is that? When they call it environmental impact statement. You know, so if you want to do something in the world nowadays, something big or something, make a dioxin plant or something, you have to kind of prove environmental impact statements. You have to prove that you're not going to fuck something up. And that's the problem, is some individual's decision to have a kid has a world impact statement, and people don't think they have an obligation to file that and to explain exactly how they have control over what they're going to do, and that it can't melt down, can't turn into shit, and that it doesn't have some consequence like, well, if I let you do it, I have to let the others do it, and then they'll do it so badly that the price of letting you do it is the people doing it really badly, and the crack whores and all the other crap you get because of the bad way people do it. You know, people just, you know, they're, you know, most of the imbeciles on earth are not imbeciles by accident. You know, they're imbeciles because of something you can see. Imbeciles raise them. Assholes raise them. I guess imbeciles and assholes are sort of, you know, imbeciles create assholes and assholes create imbeciles, that kind of thing. You know, there is a correlation between them, and you know, most people are sort of in that condition. They've had either assholes or imbeciles as parents, and therefore, you know, they really haven't been required to do all of this thinking about what they're doing, and they just do what they want to do, and that's why they drive down the street with their radios on too loud and do all kinds of stupid ass bullshit. Drive 50 miles an hour down a street that has cars parked on both sides, and you know, well, anyway, just insanely stupid things. And there's a lot of people doing it, you know, a lot of them, and that's a bad sign. And attempting to communicate with them and explain how your whole concept of what you're accomplishing in your life is ignorant, and you know, it's your model sucks. It's a cartoon. It doesn't have anything to do with the reality of what you're doing here and the implications of it and all that crap. You're trapped in just your psychological delusions of, well, I got a cool shirt, Nike thing on it or something, and you know, I'm stylish and I'm cool and I'm, you know, you know, all the crap that people get distracted by. And I'd argue I've spent a lot of my time on this planet being quite distracted, not really thinking about environmental impact statements and any of that crap. So I was an ignorant asshole. Might have been both. Still might be some. You know, it is distracting. The biological mechanism, and it's striving to keep its head above the sewage. You know, it's just a reflex, you know, fight or flight mechanism. You're just compelled in some respects, and thinking doesn't have much to do with it. That's unfortunate. And even as I've stated in previous videos, even having knowledge of this mechanism and its manipulation of you doesn't give you some sort of complete control. It only gives you some weapon against getting too caught up or being too extremely stupid or too extremely you know, being without inhibitions. It at least gives you some inhibitions. Knowledge gives you some more patience and more discipline and more caution and more just thoughtfulness. All of those words are part of what thinking does. So, stupid thing is, there's just little issues here. I just still haven't gotten my computer thingy correct. But anyway, there's so many things to readjusting to the new zoo. Difficult. For me. Yeah. It probably shouldn't be as bad as it's been. Probably hasn't been as bad as I'm making it. Let's put it that way. Well, maybe. I mean, in some ways, I've exceeded my model of what I thought this doom would be like. But in other ways, I've fallen. It's been much more difficult. So my model wasn't completely accurate in understanding how my psychology would migrate to this new life. But that's, it's only, I mean, how do you predict that kind of thing? It's kind of a complex, the overall psychology and what goes on in your head and what your priorities become. So I figure we can do a couple of these comments, and they're not really on the subject, most of them, but we'll give it a shot. So this first comment was, I guess I don't know if I need to read the whole thing. It was sort of about appreciation and the fact that we lose sight of how good we have it until we have it bad. And obviously I think most people are sort of like that. You could take before and after pictures, the smiling happy person and the person with cancer, brain tumor, whatever, and you won't see too much in similarity between those two people. And you probably won't see much in terms of their perspective either, what they're living for, what they would pay real money for, because the priorities completely change, and perspective, way of life, everything, and they acclimate to the new thing that they are. I suppose that happens. You lose your arm or something, you acclimate it to being a person with one arm, and so all the things that require two and that were important to you have to become unimportant, and all stuff that's not related to that becomes important. So it's sort of what people do in their life, I suppose. We all do it. We can find things about ourselves that we're satisfied with, we're doing well, that we're good enough, and then things we're dissatisfied with. And that those definitions of good and bad are attractive and ugly, or any of that kind of stuff, is so subjective, so personal, so different between human beings. So it's sort of like tattooing. It's not something I think is some sort of crime, but it's certainly something I don't get, in terms of making a commitment to this physical change, and I suppose, like I said, unless it's done really well, I mean, it's got some sort of artistic symmetry, and it's it's just, I could see getting tiger striped or something. I mean, certain kind of tattooing I could make some sense out of, but the non-symmetrical, sleevey kind of, I mean, none of that makes much sense to me, and certainly doesn't enhance one's physical appearance to me at all. And as a statement, you can't read half the shit anyway. You can't tell what it is, but other people say, no, this all means something. It's all important, and it's cool, and some people do it for themselves, I guess. Some people do it to make a statement. But either way, I don't really get it. you know, crayons or something. I mean, you know, it's just, the permanent thing, I guess, is where it's just, so you gotta live with that for the rest of your life. You know, I don't know. I don't know if I would, I'm not a permanent ink kind of person. You know, try it out for a few decades first and then see if you like it, you know, and then buy it. Something like that. But anyway, sort of with the comment, well, I'll read the second paragraph. I've been striving to find the word he was looking for. Yes, it's confined, you know, single word problem. So I guess that's not that interesting a subject. That's the real, okay, let's see. I don't think that the culture which forged our language ever meant us to. That's interesting. Okay, this is a very material sense of loss that can't find a single word to truly express fairly. Okay. Yeah, well, you really don't have to find single words, so that's part of the advantage we have. Even though language sucks, you can use more words and, you know, more than one example and all of that stuff to try to make a point, so we're not totally without power to communicate. But again, you can sort of see that it's not, you know, as bad as the language is, it's really not a language problem that has created all this, you know, whatever you want to call it, this belligerent lack of ability to resolve a common truth, you know, to make any statements at all that everybody can agree on. You know, that's because people are just really trying not to get it. I mean, you know, the fact that so many people in the modern era are still clinging to archaic, silly religions that, you know, were just written by men, that, you know, weren't God-inspired, you know, and really written by men. I mean, clearly written with biases in them that just can't be denied. I mean, it's just so flawed. And you're saying, well, if people are clinging to that, so, you know, now, it's not about a reasoned argument. It's not about a word. They don't understand. It's that they don't want to accept reality. They just don't give a shit about what the truth is. They're just clinging to some kind of, I don't know, a silly story, and clinging to it because mommy says so. I don't know, for some kind of bizarre reason. I guess because it somehow too much of their lineage will be insulted if it's found or resolved to be a truth that it was all bullshit. So, oh yes, so YouTube did put a warning on my, you know, they deleted 4 or 5 of my videos. Some mostly old stuff about the Amazing Atheist and To Be Serious video responses, and probably Holocaust stuff, or you know, whatever. So one of them was a stickam room. So they just randomly do this, I guess, because you know, all you need is some asshole to start flagging your videos, and I guess they'll remove them. They have some new hate speech policy, which clearly you can't. There's no rational way to form these whatever sides of the fence. Okay, acceptable and unacceptable. You know, it's too fudgy a line. It's like the line with pornography or something. It's just, you know, why bother? I understand you have to have some limitations on the outrageous, but it's pretty hard to define, and you really should make sure it's outrageous, you know, and they don't do that. So once they write this crap, then it just is in the hands of any asshole who says, well, that's definitely a derogatory statement about another human being. You're not allowed to do that. So, you know, it's just stupid. Fuck. the stuff people worry about. And so instead of fixing things, they think they fixed them by censoring them. Just not the best plan. Alright, so Flyora, tell me if you watch my antinatalism conversation series. Yes, I did watch one of them. Fine. So, yes. And here's a playlist of 12 episodes to date. And so, no ads, just viewer hungry. So that is kind of disappointing that, other antinatalists, you kind of can see the thinness of the interest. That unless I say something about it, which may help, but may not do any good at all. Because, yes, most of the people I listen to listen to me. I listen to, like that ever happens. The videos I saw didn't have Flyora in them, so that's interesting. The one I saw was a kind of a podcasty thing, so it didn't have her in person, so that's nice. So, yes, I'll post a link below to these 12 videos in this playlist and such. It's weird that all these 12 have her in them, but the one I watched didn't. How interesting. Possibly interesting. Anyway, okay. So, yes, I'll do that. Yes, posting the link below. There's not, conversation is good. But it still has to revolve around, having the conversation is sort of what I'm doing. It's sort of like putting little pieces and showing them. Here's a little piece of an argument. Here's a little piece of an argument. Here's a little piece of an argument. That's all good, but it's not really what the job that needs to be done now is for somebody to put all the arguments together in some sort of form that, again, is universally useful. So it somehow can pleasantly start from the beginning. Explain that you're a robot. Explain that the mechanism is all just this biological mass. The motivations all just come from sort of little natural tricks to keep you wanting to play a game that hurts other beings. And, and then explaining how it hurts other beings, things, and explaining how you really don't want to be a shithead, right? You really don't want to tie people up and throw them in a trunk and get them raped. You really don't want that written on your tombstone. So until you can make this Disneyland without the failure land that gets created right next to it, you can't play. It's not a good enough game. Till you make it a good enough game, till you make it one where you don't have to violate consent. And violating consent means you're absolutely sure everything will be all right, and you can guarantee it, and that you can fix it if it goes wrong. If it melts down, you have a cure. That kind of thing. I mean, until you can make it that, then you just have no business pushing the button. That's just evil. It's just a fact. It's evil. It's an arrogant, obnoxious act. It's just as bad as the asshole who makes the nuclear plant, shopping at, buying parts at Walmart. We put people like that in jail, and that's all birthers are doing. They're taking something they know just can't possibly, you can't rationally have a model in your head that, I've protected against, I've got a fail-safe system. When you have nothing, you got $300 in your bank account, you barely can tolerate your wife, you can, let's have a kid. What? I mean, it's just so fucking stupid. And then, that's not even getting into the whole world thing. You're throwing him into a world where he's going to have to compete and try to win the gold medal and do all this bullshit without becoming a drug addict or without getting cancer and without all the shit that can happen, getting hit by a car. I mean, it's just so fucking obnoxious. Like I said, if procreators were judged like all other criminals are judged in terms of a negligence crime, reckless negligence, they go to jail for that kind of shit. When your brakes are shitty and you go drive down the road and run somebody over, you're probably going to go to jail for it because you knew. You just didn't give a shit. The facts were right there for you to see anyway. The cracks in your sidewalk were quite obvious, and you didn't do anything like put a little red flag up or do anything to create any caution. And so, yeah, you're responsible. So, anyway, comment. Michael Nichols. Good stuff. I think you should spend time activating your imagination. Fuck you. It'll open up the constraints of everyday thinking and help you see new directions. Fuck you. It's just amazing bullshit. And who are you? What's this icon? Is this some little magical crap? La 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 la. I mean, yeah. What is this shit? Oh, there's a little universe picture. Oh, yeah, one of the little star clusters. A globule. It's a globule. Ooh. Just hate people. Logic is great, but it's difficult in the actualization of the imagination. So again, if you're using your imagination to entertain yourself, I mean, I spent most of my imaginating time in my life imagining breasts and vaginas, and that's all I spent most of my time, and me playing with them. I mean, that's what I spent most of my imagination time on. So yes, but obviously you have to use your imagination to make a model. You have to put pieces in the model, and you say, oh, well, let's put square wheels on the car. Oh yeah, that doesn't work. Blump, 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 blump. Okay, fuck that. Okay, car has to have round wheels. So we figure out in our model what pieces work and which ones don't using our imagination. Oh, just fuck you, you patronizing puke. Which is the creative fuel. This is such baby talk to enable us to see the unknown. Look, most of what needs to be known is known. So, there is no, what do you think the unknown is going to be? God? Is that what you really think, you idiot? No, the unknown is going to be some stupid little physical fact of chemistry and biology and physics, ultimately. Chemistry and physics. It's just going to be like, electrons are trapezoidal, or protons are pink. It's just going to be some stupid little fact, and it's not going to mean anything, and it's not going to be miraculous. So all of the unknown, all of the stuff we can't see, if you could see it, you're not going to be, holy shit, that's so amazing. No, you're going to be like, oh, that's amazingly boring and simple and stupid. The system is stupid in this complex level. It's even dumber, okay, on a simpler level. The stuff we can't see is even duller than this stupid stuff here that's so complicated and sophisticated. Anyway, see the unknown. Logic can only really help us see the known. I mean, it's just amazing. No, it makes the unknown knowable. That's exactly what we did for 10,000 years of civilization, is basically identifying things by acquiring knowledge and then making knowledge out of the knowledge we acquired. Facts combine and create a new fact. You stupid fuck. Films, non-fiction, and so on. Where do you think the non-fiction comes from? People have to make it up, and they have to make it up out of the recipe bits they have, the knowledge they have. And some of them create some new angle, some new story. Now, someone could argue that Shakespeare covered all of the basic themes, and so everything that you see is just a rewriting of some Shakespearean formula of plot. The plot is always sort of the same: create a problem, have a solution, or else no solution. Just make the problem even bigger and just watch problem grow. People somehow like to watch problems just get bigger and bigger. Simple practice, imagining things in unique ways. And how do you make your uniqueness? Your little special snowflake. Oh, this is such tripe. After a couple of hours, you'll notice an effect. Again, this isn't about notice an effect on what? The world fixes that way? Okay, I'll just sit here in my chair and I'll imagine everything getting all right. And that'll mean that the feral cat I saw this morning, you know, paranoid, kind of desperately looking for something to pounce, everything will be okay. He'll have a great day because I played with my imagination. No, it ain't gonna fix shit, asswipe. Do it every day and you'll really notice peace. Fuck you. I don't know. You can't get thrown in a trunk and raped too soon for me. You really just don't get it, do you, fuckhead? This really isn't about how good you feel, you stupid shit. It's about how shitty the shit is all around you, idiot. God, you just need to get, you need to pick the short straw and then talk your little fantasies. Oh, I just hate people. Fuck, you're boring. Okay, I mean, it's a subjective opinion, I'd say, in some respects. So you don't find the subject of the meaning of our existence interesting. Or somehow you think what I'm saying doesn't have any real relevance to that subject, or it's not in any way meaningfully connected, like it's not worthy of your attention. Because why? So it doesn't have gods in it or something? I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, it's just too bad that you just don't give a shit. Okay, fine. You don't give a shit. You're a nihilist, and that's just the way it is, and you don't want to hear any arguments against it. See, I'm just the opposite. As soon as I am something, I want to hear anybody who isn't interested in that, and I want to know why they're not. You know, it makes me keenly interested. Well, I suppose there's some reason why you're watching my video, right? So, why did you end up here, idiot? You know, did somebody promise you something else? I mean, man, you're an idiot. You should turn around and talk to that brick wall because you do my fucking head in. And so, fine, this is supposed to impress me as an argument. Okay, you're bored. Anonymous douchebag is bored. Yeah. Sorry. Again, if I was selling these videos as this video will entertain any idiot, you know, guaranteed to entertain any idiot, then maybe you'd have an argument. But where is that done here? Where is there some false advertising? Oh, that's right, there isn't any. You're just an idiot. So, fuck you. Can I do something here? Oh, okay, I can remove. Cool. I'll do that. That's just useless mush. This is absolutely wonderful. Well, that's sort of useless mush also. But anyway, it's okay. I suppose people just stating their opinion in some, you know, without any articulation or explanation is alright. But I don't know. I'm just, maybe it's not alright unless you're just selling a toilet or something. You're just saying, yes, it worked. I bought one, it worked. You know, if you're reviewing something, you say, it worked. I guess that's okay. But if you're asserting something about its, you know, somehow it's better than, maybe. If you're making a comparison, well, I don't know if that's... Well, anyway, but yeah, I just think you ought to say more about why you think so. About time for a good old inmendham video. Okay, well, they're once a week pretty much, with a little stuff in between now and then. Why are you still around, Gary? Well, I'm barely around, right? Once a week. Physics. The physics argument is kind of a good model, a good way of testing. It's a good experiment. Because you could argue that making a physics argument is more technical and exact, and it's not as veiled in psychology, right? So this conversation about life gets into arguments about optimism and pessimism and bigotries and biases and all kinds of psychological rubbish, where people can claim your philosophy is not logic-based and not this and not that. But the physics argument really doesn't have any of that. Can't really, I mean, it's a physics argument. Clearly, people's psychology can make them make corrupt arguments, but I just mean the argument itself is really just about evidence and conclusions. At least it should be. Well, I guess in some ways it demonstrates just how all arguments are arguments with psychology, that you're never really having philosophically disciplined or scientific arguments. You're always having these psychological arguments. How people weigh evidence, there's no consistent rules. There's supposed to be some kind of consistent rules about how you weigh evidence. You know, what kind of evidence is more compelling than other kinds of evidence, like, you know, some witness who was 500 feet away saying, I'm pretty sure it was him, versus DNA evidence, you know. There's and it's people's capacity to weigh the meaning and the strength of arguments. So the physics thing is kind of a really good, I think it's a really good test in terms of, well, what's your, if you can't get people to loosen up psychologically on a subject that can't possibly be too personal, physics, you know, versus the meaning of my life and whether I was evil when I had kids, or whether it was evil for my parents to have kids, or, you know, some conversation that gets much more personal. I mean, the anti-natalism argument is a lot more damning, personally damning. You are calling people assholes, and you're calling them malicious assholes, and you're saying they're doing violence to other people, and they're harming things, and they're doing all this crap. Those are hard accusations, where in the physics argument, you're not making any personal statement beyond, I guess, you're implying. The implication of your challenge to their belief is that they've spent way too much of their life believing in absolute crap, getting it wrong. So, you know, you have to tell people, yeah, you've been wrong you're an old guy and you've had a wrong notion in your head all those years. What a fool you were. You're basically calling people fools, I guess, in the physics argument. And that's the problem, really, is you're basically just pointing out how foolish. You know, you're making a statement saying you've been foolish. You know, if you're a physicist and you devoted your life to this, or you spent your life teaching this crap, it was all for nothing because you were teaching shit. That's tough for those people to swallow. So I guess in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't a good test. I don't know if I have enough time to waste to figure it out, but whatever. Yes, there's evidence on both sides for that one. Anyway, a whole lot of fractals going on there. Okay, oh yeah, well, videos sometimes had background crap. You know, people... It's just like all the video, you know, it's one person says great, the other person says I can't stand that shit, you know, and you know, it's just sock account against sock account. So this guy's name is actually sock account, and you're just saying, well, yeah, well, whose opinion should I pay attention to? You know, you really can't make a reasoned choice. Meditation is cleaning the mind, so this is more just garbage. You know, this what meditation is. Meditation is like a drug. So you have a problem, you want it to go away, you meditate. It's a medication. People meditate because they feel they need to be medicated. They need a device to control a negative thing. That's all it is. But I would argue that in most cases people are using it even more selfishly, in terms of they're just trying to obtain some personal advantage, comfort. And the meditation isn't on the subject of how do I make the world a better place? How do I seed the planet with better ideas? How do I, that's not what they're meditating on. Mind of all thought. I mean, again, you're telling me you can do this. I'm void of what? Presence or on earth? So you're asleep. I mean, there's, dreamless sleep, you could argue. Okay, I'm void of all being. So what? Yeah, you're asleep. To become one with the senses. If you're one with the senses, then you are thinking, in the sense that you're perceiving states. Okay, so I just don't really buy the argument that you can do that without the thought process being involved. It is a relaxing exercise. So what? Who cares? So is masturbation. I mean, whatever. Contemplation is how we arrive at the root of the problem. So again, he's associating meditation with contemplation, not thinking with thinking. Deliberately analyzing contemplation with deliberately not analyzing. Just, okay, don't make any sense at all. Fine. Really appreciate it. I mean, this is a guy who's a long-time viewer, and he says something this stupid. Why? Because he's a meditator. And I offended meditation by pointing out how Buddhism is just bullshit. I mean, it's absolute crap as a philosophy. I've identified it's broken. This is how you run away from it. It's a nothing solution. So so he has to somehow regain. He has to make nirvana into something better than a silly notion that you can escape reality. And you can. I mean, mentally, you can free your individual consciousness from the problem, but that doesn't stop the next victim from being born, for sure. So what have you accomplished? Oh, that's right, nothing. So he says nirvana is compromise. Okay. Well, where did the great Buddha say that? Where is that in the secret text somewhere? Why don't you show me the citation to where that's what they say? When clearly it's not compromise, it's a complete rejection. It's running the fuck away. There's no other way to describe it. The basic plan is you see it, you turn around, and you run away. It has nothing to do with confronting reality. It has everything to do with running a fuck away from it. Oh, I see, but look, that's just their psychological desperation. He's invested a big hunk of his life in this mumbo-jumbo, and so he's got to defend it. I hate bringing this up and being a dick, but when Gary is gone, how will he be remembered? Well, I'm sure that will, like anyone, it'll change over time, right? I mean, lots of people were, like Kennedy was remembered right after being shot as, the greatest man who ever lived, and then as time went on, he got, oh yeah, but he cheated on his wife, and he did this, and he did that, and he's, Martin Luther King, lots of people. So I'm sure there will be, the good and bad that comes with my people doing a retrospective on my existence. But it is interesting. I mean, you'd sort of love to watch that movie also. I'd like to see it all play out. Just because I'm certain I've got at least 50% of the shit I'm saying about physics is right, and someday that's going to be discovered, because you can't just they can't pretend they have an answer when they don't for forever. I mean, it's going to show up eventually. There's going to be an experiment that'll kind of demonstrate it, I'm sure. There'll be some technology that'll make it quite clear they had the wrong idea. And it'll be found that, oh yeah, this guy knew that back then. And nobody listened. And they just insulted him for going to the trouble. So that part will make this sort of relevant. Now, how it'll be remembered by the little local group of anti-natalists and all that stuff, it does, probably just going to be remembered as I'm thought of, which is, well, he tried, gave it a pretty good shot. What else are you going to say? So anyway, well, yeah, you say a real life gathered ceremony. I mean, it's just kind of funny that I guess you want to have a real funeral or something, like somehow that, I never got that whole stuff, so it sort of would be, it would be sort of an irony, an inmendham funeral, just because funerals are, from my perspective, quite bizarre. But remembering things is not bizarre. It's having a piece of, something to remember it by, to have it, to force it back into your notice now and then. I mean, I like that I have some artifacts of my parents, just so I can see something and say, oh yeah, I remember them. Yeah, it helps. The cats and whatnot. It's all horrible, really. it's yeah, the fact that the game does do this stupid changing thing I just find change quite obnoxious. I do. Not that I like just toiling and redundancy and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, the hard changes. Little change good, bad, big change bad. So you kind of hate that the world has people in it, and then tomorrow it doesn't have those people in it anymore. It's it would be good, if like old actors still made movies, that kind of thing, new movies. It'd be, Anyway, Indonesia still sucks. Yeah, true. We should talk. It's rather interesting. So that was actually one of the physics videos on the inmendham channel. Why should we talk? I'm sure you don't know anything about it. But anyway, 2 + 2 does not equal 4 because of human emotions. So again, just more garbage as a statement. That somehow you can undo facts because humans have emotions. That doesn't undo the facts. Yes, it's a problem that humans are psychological more than they are philosophical. So they don't take thinking too seriously. Yeah, I was a victim of it for most of my youth. I thought the tool of thinking was for scheming. That's what thinking was for scheming for me. What's my advantage? What's in it for me? I mean, yes, that was that's the innate programming. That's the innate natural function. And then I realized that was really stupid. Fuck, what a waste of a brain. Anyway, real facts, Gary. Like no evidence we live on a spinning ball in space. Again, so this is somebody who believes in flat Earth, I guess. I mean, you're just stunned that people can be this belligerently stupid. I mean, this is, you're just trying to be stupid. My brain is going to innately type and write and think in terms of what's the stupidest thing I could say, or what's the stupidest thing I could defend. You're just saying, how could somebody get it that backwards? Your cognitive dissonance is massive. I don't have any cognitive dissonance. I'm sorry. I would know if I had it. I don't have any dissonance on the subject of any of this. I'm quite confident and comfortable that I have arrived at a substantially a perception that has high integrity in terms of its dependability as being accurate. Wake up, So they use this woke statement, people, and now you're migrating from the dream world to the reality, and all the people are saying that kind of crap. That's not what they're doing. They're doing exactly the opposite. Why do you believe you live on a ball then, Gary? Because I've seen the radar weather images, and you can see it's round, spherical. But I've seen a million other images. Yes, all of the images I've seen since I've been on Earth from satellites and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty convincing. Yeah, I would have to argue just looking around. Oh, it doesn't look flat, but it doesn't look round either, right? I mean, well, I suppose in a way it does, because everything just does sort of disappear. The horizon disappears. It's like, well, where does it go? It doesn't go up, because I would see it, right? If the horizon, if stuff went up, I would see it. So it must be going down, because it seems to be disappearing. That's why I believe it, idiot. Why don't you care about the truth? So, I don't know. Amazing. Like, why would somebody type something so fucking stupid? Even if we live on a flat earth, how does that change antinatalism? It doesn't. It just goes from we are living on a globe to life is consuming life for no real reason, where it all comes from one day for nothing, to we live on a flat plane. Well, okay. It wouldn't be a very significant difference. I mean, who could care if it was flat or if it was round, if it's the same game? But obviously it would really mess up physics in so many ways. It does make it seem like that model, I can't see it. Okay, yeah, you can't see how it works, this whole falling off the edge thing and poofing to the other side, or however they fix the falling off the edge problem. Flat Earth proves there was a creator, so I guess that's his response. So if the Earth is flat, God made it. But if it's not, I just don't even see it in the creation stories. God created the great flat plane. So I don't even know how it relates to religion. And so the fact that there's a God means there's a plan. The God thought of it one day, sat around forever to come up with the plan to make a bunch of feeling things and have them eat each other. Cool plan. Sarcasm. I love you, inmendham. Thank you for everything. You are truly woke. Oh, see, that's just such a woke. Yeah. So, aren't facts by definition real? No, the argument is they're obviously every fact we claim, we're only claiming it as a draft, as a proposed fact, because we know we're unreliable in our claims. So, yes, I would argue if you want to get too explicit a definition, it would be wrong, I suppose, of me to say they have their facts wrong. well, if they were facts, they can't be wrong. So, but again, we have one word to use for all these different ways you would use the word, their definition of reality. And it's very hard to separate the definitions from the reality in that sense. The map from the territory or whatever. So that's just a flaw of our. That's back to modeling. It's a flaw made by things that model. That they have vocabulary that identifies things in the model and then identifies things in the reality and calls them the same thing, when it should always be understood that one is in the model and one is reality, and they might not be correctly correlated. But again, you're just being an anal jackass to sit there and point this out, because clearly the argument is that they're statements made, assertions, and they're either accurate or inaccurate. But we use them as facts. We use them as elemental bits to build something else. So, yeah. Semantics. Yeah. Thanks. It's just such a not very useful contribution. How come the scroller ain't working? Oh, that's because there's no more comments. Hey, inmendham, good to see you survive the move. Yeah. Yeah, I am surviving. Days like yesterday make me wonder, how durable I'm going to be, but we'll see. So, I don't know why it put me back here, because I loaded more. That's irritating. Yeah. Okay. LOL. You think perpabate is going to catch on? I'm not worried about making any statement. I don't care. One way or the other. See, all I want people to understand is there's a concept that they call perpetuation. Okay, and that's how they think the universe works. Is because little homo dominoes are perpetuating with each other. So that's their bullshit. But whatever. I'm just saying. People, especially now, this is like somebody complaining about my hair or something. The world has changed. People have some liberation. And the real point about communication is do you understand me? And I think the latitude I take with vocabulary doesn't break understanding. So this is more, you just can't find something reasonable to complain about, right? So you have to complain about something uselessly irrelevant. Is that seriously your excuse? Again, it's not an excuse, it's just an explanation. It's something I've done my whole life. I'm just sorry, it's the way, maybe it's an excuse in that sense that I was dyslexic. I didn't really, I didn't have a great connection to vocabulary, spelling, any of that, grammar. So it was all kind of touchy-feely for me. Mechanically, it didn't make any sense. So I couldn't do it like math. Like some people can spell like it was mathematics. I couldn't do it that way. I'm just doing my own way. Yes, that's what I was saying. You can't even admit you pronounce a word incorrectly. Well, I clearly am admitting that, frankly, yes, I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. Yes. On purpose, almost. It's almost on purpose, because I find the word revolting in some respects. It's such a queer word. There aren't any words like that to just, ew. I wouldn't eat quiche just because it's called quiche. I really hate eggs, but yeah, just because it's called quiche, I wouldn't eat it. Fuck that. Call it something cooler than that. That's just sounds like something, on the sides of somebody's anus. You know, quiche. Quiche? Fuck you. I ain't eating that shit. So fuck you. I've explained this enough. I mean, amazing anal bullshit. The root of perturbate is perturb. Wow, that's so interesting. When, yeah, it's in the word. Perturb, it's in the word perturbate. Wow. This is so desperately stupid. And if everyone had this mentality, we'd all go around just pronouncing things our own way. Yes, and some of that is, I don't find that offensive at all. I mean, except for the Canadian thing. A boot. A boot? What do you mean? What's in a boot? You know, that's just plain fucking retarded. I mean, look, obviously this is just subjective crap, okay? You know, you're going to get upset about it. Okay, get upset about it. I don't think I'm ebonicsing the English language. I don't think, again, it's really just about, can you understand what I'm saying? Isn't that the only part that really matters here? And it could be argued that, frankly, just getting through some words quicker, you know, yeah, shorten that word. It doesn't need to be that long. And no one would understand anything. Right, and I don't defend that. And I don't think I'm doing anything to justify that. You know. I mean, ain't a word, right? But everybody knows what it means. So what's the big deal? But I guess you think you're special. No, I think there's a rational perspective where you recognize the difference between being understood and not being understood. But I guess you think you're special, so the rules don't apply to you. Sorry to be harsh here. Well, again, there's nothing, your accusation is mush, because you haven't demonstrated that you didn't understand exactly what I was saying. Yes, it is true that Piro's, the decision to say Mickelson or Michelson, you know, is sort of a personal choice, right? But the history is that the guy's name was Michelson. So I'm just pointing out that he claims all this familiarity, and yet he is basically mispronouncing the guy's name. So how could he be that familiar with Mickelson Morley, if he can't recognize which pronunciation is the correct one? But I have to admit that I've heard the incorrect one so many times that 50% of the time I'll say Mickelson when it should be Michelson. So fuck you. Alright, problem is you accept the facts that support your argument and deny the ones that don't. Well, that's exactly the argument I made in my video about you, idiot. So there's nothing here. And what I pointed out is you can't, it's not even about accepting or rejecting, it's about completely ignoring. So the only way you can escape being honest about what evolution is, I mean, there's no way but to completely deny the facts. I mean, the facts of evolution are the facts of evolution. The fact is that the way it works is it kills most of the things created in a quick and expedient and brutal way to perfect a little master race that moves into the future. So the number of losers is always bigger than the number of winners. It's just a fact. So there's nothing to argue, and you're the one denying those facts. So let's see, there aren't any facts that disprove ephilism. Well, again, it's sort of the backward way of saying it. There's no arguments that demonstrate any flaw in the logic. Do you know how many ironic statements is? Do you know how many ironic? Do you know how ironic that statement is? So again, so it's what's this eco defending? So again, so he can say that somehow, no, there's lots of ways I can prove you wrong or demonstrate your flawed logic. Does he do any of that? No. So there's no counter argument made. Make an argument that does not involve any spiritual or voodoo or magical mumbo jumbo. Well, I'm just saying exactly. So if you just take evolution for what it is, and then you have the simple notion that you realize that suffering is a bad, a real bad, a negative, and that if it's imposed without consent, well, that's really, really, really bad. And that there's just no way to do the economics and say you're winning because you made too many losers to call yourself a winner. I mean, you can sit there with your gold medal and say it was worth it. Yeah, all the kids that died, okay, trying to win the gold medal, all the ones that were crippled trying to win the gold medal, and all the adults who will become alcoholics and drug addicts because they didn't win, they were losers. This is worth it. This piece of gold I've got here, my little happiness right here, yeah, it's worth it. It's a retarded statement on its face. It just obviously can't be seen that way if you just add up what took place. What took place wasn't worth it. So, antinatalism and ephalism are totally different things. Well, they're not really. I mean, antinatalism is a tiny fraction of a truth. You know, the big truth is ephalism, and the little truth is antinatalism. You know. But anyway, so we're probably done enough. The doorbell thing, I don't know. Yeah, so they had quite a little conversation here, so I probably should read the, well, it's all by one guy. Yes, one person. Respond to a bunch of comments that don't exist anymore or something. Why was my comment removed? Am I supposed to tone it down more than it already is? Edit. I guess it triggered some kind of filter inmendham has created. I didn't touch anything, so I'll have to try to find the words that are triggering it. Great. Oh, fuck you. Let's go look in the spam folder. See what kind of magic is in there. Alright. 5 days ago, so obviously this isn't where his comment is. So I didn't touch your comment, you fucking cunt. You know, just make your little fake accusations. I don't even, what's this held for review bullshit? Can't be anything, yeah, 1 year ago. Yeah, hilarious. Oh, God. I think those are where, like, yeah, if you have a filter that says you're not like to say my name, I think I have a filter for that. I'm not sure, but I think that might be possible. And I think I filtered the N-word. But I don't remember. Tell you the truth. Let's see. Alright, so let's go to this next comment. Let's see what this read more is. Still can't get it to post. Whatever filter he has must seriously be limiting the amount of comments on this video. So, just horse shit. I have like 3 words in the filter. Can't remember what they are, but I think that's all that's there. I mean, the N-word, my last name, and something. First of all, I find it interesting that you people immediately think I'm referring to ephalism. You know, this is not at all that inmendham talks about, right? So he thinks inmendham is a trigger word. Physics, politics, economics, etc. Yeah, but the video was specifically on the subject, so I'm just saying if you put a comment on a particular video that's not one of those other subjects, you can't claim, oh yeah, I'm really responding to those other subjects. I'm generally referring to his behavior on a multitude of topics. It's just, what did this start with? problem is you accept the facts that support your argument and reject deny the ones that don't. So he said that on just a few facts videos. I mean, it just seems like such a kind of a bullshit argument to make, is that, oh yeah, I meant this in some generic way about this other subject. So that's just crap. I don't know why this huge distance between paragraphs, but I'll bite on the F-lism thing for a moment. I'm not going to get into the big long debate here because I simply don't have the time or inclination. Oh, well, why don't you just preface it with a bunch of wasted time gibberish? I don't have time to go on and on about different things that you want me to say about these different subjects on these different things. I don't really have any time to just go make up a bunch of sentences and have to put a bunch of words together. I don't really have time to do any of that, putting the words together to explain my point of view and to do this. Yeah, but you got time to do all that crap. Philosophy isn't just something that's black and white. Yeah, it is. So you already lose. You're already dead in the water. There's a truth. One truth, fuckhead. There's not 4 truths, 10 truths, a million truths. No, there's one truth. You can accurately describe something, inaccurately describe it. That's all you're stuck with. Yes, you can have imperfect, you can have, say, 2 statements that aren't in conflict with each other. They're not saying 2 different things, but you just used a different word. You said girl instead of chick, or woman. So yeah, you can change the truth a tiny bit. That doesn't matter. But the basic idea is that you can't say two different things about the same reality. It's just not going to happen. So fuck you. There's one reality. Accurately describe it, inaccurately describe it. So you're already dead here. You've already started your argument with nonsense. So fuck that. It's not like the scientific method. Well, exactly. It is exactly what the scientific method should be. It's like what everything has to be. We have to try the evidence. We have to put the evidence on the table and have a trial and say, where does the evidence point? Guilt, innocence. He did it, she did it. Which one is? And you can concede we don't have enough information, and I'm basically arguing we have more than enough information to draw conclusions here. This is a done game. The truth has been easily visible for hundreds of years, so bullshit on you, fuck you, you're an idiot. Alright, now it's enough of the video. Okay, so till the next time, and such, and so forth and whatnot. Exhausting. Yeah, save it.